So, yeah, this is the third part of the debt jubilee. Uh, it sounds a bit absurd that one might feel that any sort of jubilee about debt, but this is when the Vatican have the opportunity and have taken the opportunity last year to negotiate with the World Bank for the forgiveness of debts. So, third part, seriously, if His Holiness Pope Francis made the most of the Jubilee, and now our new Pope, we could be delivered to the 1,000 years of peace that the Bible also promises. So which would be the debt to forgive for most effect in freeing the downtrodden? Um, when you consider the difference between jurisprudence and justice, you find that jurisprudence are the principles of law and justice is a system that is built on them. So we're going to have to work on both those things because there is no peace without justice, basically. And if there's going to be a public apology by the Vatican, then maybe that will start with a goodwill gesture this Jubilee. So I got a bit obviously confused there, but what I really wanted to come back to with them was please let us know what is being negotiated with the World Bank for the Jubilee year and what we can expect to happen between the 24th December 2024 and the 6th January 2025. Whether it happened or it didn't happen, or maybe in fact it turns out it might be just entering the Jubilee period and it goes on for over a year, that's absolutely great too. As far as I know, the presentation to the Vatican Chancery Court was in January 2023. This had been ordered by other courts in 2005 when the assets should have been returned to the families whose legacies have been borrowed. The earlier court orders were impossible for those families to enforce. Now, I don't want you to think that this is just going to make a few other people who are sitting on inherited wealth get them back to their kind of former glory or something like that. The thing about legacies is when you write one, you leave money to something, you actually ask for it to be, I mean, we hardly get to do it now because they're swiping it off with inheritance tax. But in the past, if you wanted to leave something to somebody, you were very specific. You say, I want to leave that to Frances for her work in her animal sanctuary, right? And then there's no way I could get hold of any of that money to spend on, my holidays. I had to spend it on keeping the thing going that it was indentured for. This is this idea of being indentured. And I often remember my father, who was the judge, and he said that it was sometimes quite difficult because a lot of people would leave their legacies to the lifeboats. Called the lifeboats. So of course the lifeboats are now RNLI, and that incorporates all sorts of things like cliff rescue, new technologies, and every other sort of thing, helicopters, and they're not allowed to use it for that because the actual will indentures the money for use by the lifeboats only. So that's how I understand this. These huge legacies, and we're coming to how huge they are in a minute, have been indentured for the upliftment of humanity. So that is for everybody to benefit from. To be compliant with last year's Vatican Chancery Court ruling, the bank should return the assets by the end of 2024. I haven't been able to find the Vatican Court's decision or court order online. Could these be published again so that people can start to understand what has happened and plan with hope in their hearts for a debt-free future? 426 of the banks who are withholding these assets now unlawfully are listed on this document who is owed the return. Is the Vatican about to bring about real social change by publicly disclosing that all national and personal debt all the usury and taxes are fraudulent and that they are not owed, never were, and that the return is due. We would be grateful of a statement from the Vatican to confirm that their negotiation with the World Bank holds the intention of ending poverty altogether by returning to the people what is rightfully ours, the benefits of our labours and creativity. At the moment, the created is seeking to own and is very nearly succeeding in owning the creators. This was an observation by the fiduciary Anna von Weizsäcker. At that conference of the parties, remember COP29, when they all got together, all the health ministers, and decided amongst themselves, that the hardest hit countries that had been promised 550 million were offered only 350 million, with strict stipulations for spending it on corporate greening projects. So this is what I was talking about, how they offer you money, you have to take it, you're not allowed to spend it on what you think or what the government thinks or any interest, who actually has an interest in the needs of the society, will actually have actually asked for. They decide what you're going to spend it on. Corporate greening projects. So it's like, oh, I need a Microsoft controlled drone to make sure I'm using the right amount of Bayer produced pesticide. Brilliant. So they give us money, so we give it straight back to them. No, nothing wishy-washy around the edges where someone might actually benefit from it. The climate change market is a racket that amounts to genocide, overt in some countries but prevailing in all. Or to lose control of the situation. This is evidenced by the financed but undisclosed use of engineering in weather, Wi-Fi, food, and everything else. Governments, national and global, are destroying life in any shape, people, animal, or places, and desecrating our spirits through the torturous use of military technologies. They call them green technologies, conservation technologies, food technologies, what else? So health technologies. What? You don't want anything synthetic in your body, and certainly not edited or engineered. The De Villa family have already established a public bank to distribute their legacy to many ordinary people around the world. The value of their assets is the number 2 with 40 zeros after it. And they have arranged for their fiduciary to share 99% of that through their global asset-backed prepaid credit bank, which is the global 528 credit system that I've been helping people set up their accounts on. Basically what happens is then that each month you receive 5,000 American federal dollars, which are asset-backed, so they have value, not like fiat money, which is just a bit of money. I would say paper money, but of course it's not paper money. It's actually made out of animal body parts at this stage. The thing has gone so macabre. But also, apart from the bank, assemblies in America, Indonesia, Britain, Ireland and beyond of people aware of the imminent distribution of the wealth have already opened accounts. The banks have so far refused to even honour the exchange of these credits for even fiat money. So even for that rubbishy money that has no actual value. But actually that has changed, because in February of this year, that money was that was acknowledged and an exchange brought up. So that's absolutely brilliant. This is how sure the banks are of their carte blanche to continue exploitation through usury and debt. But we have been able to set up a whole platform now separate from the private banks and to all their mechanisms. Otherwise, if you think about it, if we all got some money that was owed to us, we'd be immediately paying it back, feeding the beast, as they say. The fraud has elaborated even this year in the opening on the stock exchange to a new class of assets. As I was talking about, the natural asset class, which includes all natural systems and ecosystems, completing in the bank's masterminds at least, the ownership of every asset of intrinsic value, which significantly involves us as well as property. I don't know if you realise that, but Bill Gates, for example, has a patent with granting him, I mean, who granted it, I wonder, exclusive rights to the computerization of the human body. Please be real pilgrims of hope. This is me talking to the Vatican again. And enforce the court orders to the banks, and the abundance and peace of the earth are returned to the people and the animals. I am sure you must agree that engineering is an abomination to the Lord, isn't it? A cursory look at the patents that have been allowed and protected from regulation would expose the green sustainability construct and its eugenicist agenda. I'd be very grateful to hear and share any and all research and updates on the progress made by the Vatican Supreme Court or Chancery Court on ending debt and correcting the status of all God's children. Something my mum used to say. This UN and World Bank body might be able to coordinate and do the administration for the return. Trying to think what that refers to. Well, obviously there must be someone. Oh, I think it might be the overseer, International Settlements Bank. I think that's the International Settlements Bank that I've referred there. And the Universal Postal Union could meet their universal service obligation, which is their founding part of their treaty, that they have to make sure that every man, woman and child anywhere in the world has to be able to receive and send parcels, post, for the establishment of fair trade, all out the window. You can hardly get a letter through without it being absolutely compromised. And as you know, some countries are a lot poorer than others. But actually, all people are equally poor. In one sense. In the sense that we're trying to correct here. That's obviously not at all true in other senses. Meet their universal service obligation and provide the logistics for people across the single postal territory, which is the whole world. And I also attach my notice to the UPU that I'd sent before. If the Vatican could see its way to start the dismantling of the military, corrupt governments, commercial courts and all corporations in this Jubilee year, I think it would lead to a very happy and peaceful Christmas. Let me see. I'll pause there for a moment. There was one more bit that I definitely wanted to cover, but I can't see it right now.